画
国画
red, green, black, white, heavy, light, dry and wet changes of water and ink on paper show the mysteries of traditional Chinese painting. 国画 Tools and materials involve writing brushes, ink, colored ink, rice paper, and silk. The hardness or softness of brushes, paper absorbency, and color determine the features of 国画. Water, ink, and lines are the most essential factors for 国画. Unlike Western paintings, 国画 doesn't use three dimensions or realism. Instead, paintings involve a unique Chinese view of scenery. It's very common that a Chinese painting is attached with a poem. If you understand 国画, you will have a better understanding of Chinese people.
"国画
国画
Dear students, today in this lecture we are going to look at the lesson Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Trouvere. Before getting into the major concepts discussed in the lesson, we will look at a few Chinese paintings. Now look at these European paintings. Can you identify any differences between the paintings? The Chinese paintings provide a space to you, the viewer, to interpret it in your own way. In a way, you can get into the painting and be there, like the story of the painter Wu Daozi. Your interpretation of the work is as important as the painter's creation. On the other hand, European painting, the painter's view is prominent and is characterized by delicate realism. The painting seems to be real. They used various techniques of using pictorial methods to deceive the eye, in a way to achieve an illusionistic likeness to the original. And that's what we understand from the stories of Wu Daozi the painter and Quentin Metzes, another painter. Now we'll look at this story. What happened to Wu Daozi? And the story of Wu Daozi is an integral part of China's classical education. The painter who lived in the 8th century, his last painting was a landscape commissioned by the Tang Emperor Xuanzong to decorate a palace wall. The master had hidden his work behind a screen so only the emperor would see it. For a long while, the emperor admired the wonderful scene, discovering forests, high mountains, waterfalls, clouds floating in an immense sky, men on hilly paths, birds in flight. "Look, sire," said the painter, "in this cave, at the foot of the mountain, dwells a spirit." The painter clapped his hands and the entrance to the cave opened. The inside is splendid, beyond anything words can convey. "Please let me show your majesty the way," The painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him, and before the astonished emperor could move or utter a word, the painting had vanished from the wall. Not a trace of Wu Dao's brush was left, and the artist was never seen again in this world. You can understand the element of spirituality that's integral to Chinese art through this story. And that's why Chinese painting give a scope for you to mingle with spiritual space inside the painting. Now when it comes to European painting, in the 15th century Antwerp, a master blacksmith called Quentin Metzges fell in love with a painter's daughter. The father would not accept a son-in-law in such a profession. So Quentin sneaked into the painter's studio and painted a fly in his latest panel with such delicate realism that the master tried to swat it away before he realized what had happened. Quentin was immediately admitted as an apprentice into his studio. He married his beloved and went on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. So European painting focuses on the painter's skill, the delicate realism, and the illusionistic likeness that a painting can provide. Chinese art is very much related to the Chinese philosophy too. The concept of shan shui is like that. Shan shui literally means mountain water. It is similar to the Taoist concept of yang and yin. Remember, Taoism is an important philosophical idea in China. Yang refers to the masculine, vertical, stable, and active self. Yin refers to the feminine, horizontal, fluid, and receptive self. The middle or the void is in constant contact with both, and it is where the interaction of yang and yin takes place. It's exactly what's meant by the white unpainted space that you see in the Chinese painting. The conceptual space, you can say. And man's existence is also like this space between heaven and earth. The next concept we'll discuss is art brut or outsider art. The term is coined by the French painter Jean Dubuffet in the 1940s. It refers to the raw art or the art of those who have no right to be artists. The untrained artists, the artists who have received no formal training yet show talent and artistic insight. And in the contemporary art, outsider art is the fastest growing interest in the world. Nek Chand is the most important name in this tradition in India. He is India's the biggest contributor to outsider art. Raw Vision, a UK-based magazine, featured Nek Chand and his rock garden in Chandigarh in 2005. He was also honored by the UNESCO in the form of a European expo called Realm of Nek Chand. Here are a few sculptures for Nek Chand's rock garden. Try to visit the place sometime to experience the magic of art brut in your life. And in connection with this, you can do this assignment as well. Collect information about various Indian schools of art. Thank you very much for listening.